Hello, and welcome to World Review, the review that focuses on virtual worlds and how well games immerse us in them. One could be forgiven for thinking that the world of Assassin's Creed Origins would feel quite samey, considering that most of it is desert landscape, but the first thing that caught me off guard about Origins was just how varied Ubisoft has made ancient Egypt feel. There are farms dotting the landscape with interesting ancient machinery and beautiful fields. You'll also find villas and shacks out in the wild. Some of the desert landscape is mountainous. Some has quite a bit of vegetation, especially the areas near the Nile. While other parts have impressive sand dunes. The landscape is furthermore kept varied through subtle color differences between regions. It actually does make a huge difference whether the sand in one region is grey or orange. The sparsely populated desert is also littered with caves to explore and tombs to raid. And of course there's also the pyramids, towering above much of the landscape and visible from large parts of the map. One little point to end the desert talk on is the fact that Bayek, the main character, can start to hallucinate if you wander for too long in the desert. All of this is without even mentioning the cities. First of all, there are multiple cities, including Alexandria, and they all have their own distinctive feel. Alexandria, for example, truly feels like the ancient version of a metropolis, with a harbor that connects Egypt to the rest of the world, and unfortunately, it also connects the rest of the world to Egypt. You can clearly feel throughout the game that the Greeks are in control of Egypt and that they don't trust native Egyptians. This is bolstered by stuff like public announcements that are generally quite hostile.
In the north of the city. Egyptians will join their brethren in the south, where security will be improved. Security for all. To ensure the safety of all in Crocodilopolis, segregation of Greek and Egyptian communities is now necessary. Everyone will benefit from the new arrangements.
You get a clear sense of who's rich and who's poor in these cities, as the rich people often have massive villas with marble statues and courtyards. Their homes are vibrant and at times downright decadent. That contrasts with the homes of the poor that use suboptimal building materials and often look drab in comparison to their rich counterparts. The poor areas of cities are also more densely populated, with smaller paths giving a sense of claustrophobia. The uniqueness of certain areas of cities extends to the city outskirts versus the city centers. The outskirts of cities are often populated by farmers, while city centers are dotted with brothels, arenas, and temples. The ancient Egypt of Assassin's Creed Origins feels highly reactive. Fire can get out of control and spread to entire structures, leaving them charred. Oil can even spread and catch fire. Blood and other fluids will also spread in water. Origins has a full working day and night cycle, which makes the same environment feel quite different at different times of the day. All these features have gameplay ramifications, but there are also quite a few touches that exist only to heighten your immersion in the world. Sand will deform under your feet, vegetation will move when you touch it, and waterways can carry certain objects in their stream. This all works to make the world feel less static and more like it has weight and physicality to it. Origins is also good at showcasing the citizens of Egypt performing various tasks like farming or mining. There's quite a lot of unique animations and furthermore unique contraptions. Now that we've gone through all that Origins does well to immerse you in its world, it's time to talk about where it drops the ball. The overall sound of different environments is okay, if a little flat, but I really dislike the role music and speech plays in the sound mix. Speech is way too loud and plays way too often. When walking around a city, it seems that every single person feels the need to loudly blurt out something as you pass them. And you cannot lower the volume for speech, only boost it further. The music is also quite intrusive. It plays all the time when engaging enemies, and it takes quite a while to stop playing after an encounter. I prefer if it played less often during combat and if it stopped playing more quickly after an encounter. One solution is to turn down the music audio entirely, but this also removes music from story moments where one would prefer the music to play. And it doesn't stop there. The UI is quite intrusive. It takes up a bunch of space and fills basically all areas of the screen. You can luckily turn most, if not all of it off, but you wouldn't want to do that as it would have too much of an effect on gameplay. The worst part of the UI is the constant messages and icons displaying on top of the picture. For some reason, Origins insist on displaying vendor and event icons sort of like quest markers. That means that they just display on top of everything. The same goes for tagging enemies, and that would be okay, it's an okay gameplay feature. But the problem is that these icons display over very long distances. You don't even need to be near a vendor or a tagged enemy for it to be displayed. So there's almost always some sort of icon on your screen. Now lastly, I should say that yes, there is a discovery mode that allows you to explore Egypt with less distractions, but the purpose of world review is to look at how the actual game part of a game immerses you in its world. Assassin's Creed Origins has an amazing world. It's detailed, varied, and beautiful. It's just unfortunate that Ubisoft insists on getting in the way between you and it.